One of these days, talking about animation memes and if they've changed or not is going to drive me insane. But I've done multiple videos on this, but it just keeps popping up. I guess I kind of wanted to talk about if animation memes are creatively bankrupt, as a lot of people say. And of course, if you've seen any of my past videos regarding animation memes, my answer is going to be no, and that this is how animation memes have been for a really long time. But I'm going to pull up receipts, and that's what we're going to do differently here. So, I started interacting with the animation meme community around 2018 and started publishing animation memes around 2019. And one of the things that I've discussed when it comes to animation memes that are mostly head bops is it's done by usually novice and beginner animators who don't have access to curriculums that help them advance. Because one of the reasons that we had a sort of renaissance of animation memes becoming more complex and fluid was because more people had experience in animation over time. But because of the influx of new people coming into the animation meme community, they don't exactly know how to animate the same way they do. So tweening is becoming more common. That isn't to say that it didn't exist in 2019, 2018, whatever. It just wasn't as common as it is now. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Tweening is another form of animation. It isn't an inferior form of animation, as I've discussed a million different times. One of the complaints that I hear a lot of is that animation memes are so plain and boring, that they only have, a white background or a colored background. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a couple of mine from 2019 onward, and I'll put dates on the side of these to kind of show you where I was coming from at this point. And it's important to note that I am technically a tweener, but I do it through flip a clip and by frame, so it's individual tweening. And it's also important to note that I was a beginner animator around this time, and I still do consider myself somewhere around that. I'm not an advanced animator by any means. But yeah, all of these are just plain backgrounds, basically just head bopping and nothing besides that. Maybe the scene changes every now and then, but it's very rudimentary. And this is what I mean by a lot of generic animation memes are done by solely beginners. And continuing to complain about animation memes being repetitive kind of steers beginner animators away from that. Because if I didn't start doing generic animation memes first and starting to learn how to animate through head bopping and everything, then I wouldn't have been able to make as many cool things as I do now and understand it. Because the nice thing about animation memes is their repetitiveness. And I've talked about this before also, but the word meme in animation meme means repetition and something that is repeated over and over again, whether that be by an animation meme sort of having the same format or just continuing to head bop over and over and over again. It is meant to be repetitive. It's a core component of that. And while at the time that I was making these animation memes, yeah, there was some amazing animators doing crazy stuff. That wasn't exactly the norm for the average artist doing animation memes. And one of the things that really compelled me to begin doing these in the first place is because they were so beginner friendly. And as I've said before, if tweening through Alight Motion or whatever is an easier way for beginners to produce the artwork that they want to create and participate in trends that they wish to, then I'm all for it. Go ahead. Because the thing is, I don't think people understand exactly how much time it takes to even make these animations. Even though I do frame-by-frame tweening, it still takes time to draw out all of the pieces, individually tween them in each frame and make sure it looks smooth, and then having to post-edit that. While that isn't the same as just computer tweening, it still is something that takes a lot of time, and a lot of these animators are under the stress of short trend spans, which isn't inherently the fault of any of these artists, okay? One of the issues is the algorithm and how trends work on specifically Art Talk. And as I've said before, just go on any other platform besides TikTok and you'll find amazing and very talented animators still doing animation memes in long form trends instead of short ones. Yes, animation memes are generic, but they aren't inherently creatively bankrupt. Because as much as people like to say that a lot of animation memes are just head bops nowadays, which they are, and they always have been, it's nothing new to the community. If you look at some of the recent animation trends that have come out, like the Sinking Town one, and even just recently I've seen a mix of average animation meme with a bit of collage in between that, because they're able to add that within the tweening animations that they do. It still has some form of originality to it. And I'm probably going to show even more of these animation memes that I've done in these pockets of time. And I don't know, it's just especially frustrating to see this be regurgitated over and over again, and I'm sure I'm going to have to do 10 million more videos on just how animation memes are what they've always been, and how it works and functions as a community to help artists find their footing, because you don't understand how animation memes are, and are blinded essentially by nostalgia and what you've seen before, to not recognize the pattern. Even in 2018, 2019, when I was first interacting with the community, there was still a lot of tweening specifically done by gotcha animators. It isn't anything new. Animation memes as a format aren't creatively bankrupt, and there's always something that an artist can add to their take on an animation meme trend or whatever, because they're supposed to be easy to digest for these animators and artists to be able to participate in them. A lot of these complaints are just so abysmal and silly that I'm like, were you interacting with anyone besides big animation memers at the time? And I think there was a lot of reasons why those types of animation memes were popular, because they are very well done and they still hold up even years later. But that wasn't the norm, it was the exception. And most people participating in the animation meme community were young, likely beginner artists, and also didn't have the same resources or time to have that same skill. And again, a lot of those animation memers and animators had to build up their skills to get to that point and make impressive animations. You're not going to immediately get that from a beginner artist. And I think a lot of these videos that are constantly thrown around deter artists from wanting to participate in the community. I know on most of these videos nowadays they go, some animation memes are so generic nowadays. Because that's what they're supposed to be. That's what they're supposed to be. And it's how it's always been. And if I have to show all of my terrible animation memes from 4 or 5 years ago, I will gladly do so. I just think it's frustrating how often this seems to come back, because it always does. I've talked about this before, and these are the exact same things and mindsets regurgitated from those animation meme cringe compilation videos who thought that tweening was inferior or whatever, and continued to bash beginner artists, because that's essentially what you're still doing now. As always, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I love to discuss things, especially with how the animation meme community is. It's something that I'm still very passionate about, and one of the reasons that I still continue to do art today, even though I don't animate as much as I'd like to. And as a whole, animation memes are just such a long, tedious process. Even just tweening, because I don't know how to computer tween. Okay, I don't know how. I've tried Alight Motion. It didn't work for me. Never tried it again. So it does take time. Even if you, don't like them as much, okay? Please just be nice to people in the community, and please stop being a Complainatron 5000. It's just a bummer, and it sucks, and please stop bringing this back from the dead. Can we bury this, for real? Yeah, that's all. Bye.